Good evening and welcome to R.Estate, Building the Nation. This is the show where we cut through the noise and bring you what truly matters in real estate. Facts, trends and decisions that impact your money and your future. Tonight, from the key developments shaping the market this week to stories that help you make better decisions, we've got you covered. Let's begin with the top real estate news making headlines this week.
The Ganga Expressway, the second largest expressway in India, is set to open this January, stretching from Meerut to Prayagraj and cutting across 12 districts. It's a major boost to Uttar Pradesh's high-speed road network. Project officials say just 10 to 15% of Phase 3 is left. Once complete, the expressway will significantly improve access during the annual religious gathering. Spanning 12 districts, the project carries an estimated cost of 5,626 crores. The Ghaziabad Development Authority is gearing up to launch the first phase of its mega Harnandipuram housing project within the next 5 months. The groundwork is already underway, with a full topographical survey using drones and satellite mapping to lock in the blueprint. Spread across 541 hectares, Harnandipuram will redefine urban living, with zones for Sports City, Medicity, Cyber City and Edu City. Strategically placed next to the rapid rail transit corridor and linked by key expressways and the Delhi Metro, it's designed for next-gen connectivity. Navi Mumbai is set to roll out its intelligent traffic management system on Palm Beach Road next month. Developed through a PPP model, the NMMC's tech-led pilot aims to upgrade traffic control without adding financial pressure. Once active, the ITMS will adjust signal timings in real time based on vehicle density at every junction. The system is designed to cut delays, ease congestion, and keep traffic moving smoothly across the city.
Once you understand what's happening in the market, the next question is, how do we build better spaces to live in? On Design Dialogue today, we bring you a story on Anagram Architects, an award-winning practice known for thoughtful, climate-responsive design and a strong sense of responsibility towards people and communities.
Hi, I'm Madhav Raman. I'm a partner at Anagram Architects. We are a multidisciplinary design and architecture studio based out of New Delhi and Goa.
My name is Shruti Dimri. I am principal at Anagram Architects. I joined them 11 years ago.
Hi, I'm Vaibhav Dimri. I'm from Anagram Architects. I'm partner at Anagram Architects.
I know these guys since college and we were a still smaller firm in 2014. So coming into the practice, it was a bit, I would say, not chaotic, but a little less organized.
So really the practice started from this idea that, oh, we should just work with each other. So there's nothing really bigger than that. But it's lasted us now almost 25 years.
The kind of education system that we come from, where we used to make models with our own hand, or test construction techniques with our own hand on site, that kind of culture has remained in our office. In remote areas when we're working, you try and use technology and cameras and Zoom links, but I think we still heavily rely on touching the material ourselves.
Context comes from what client wants. It obviously comes from climate, where it belongs. The cultural context is important, the climate is very important, but the budgets are also equally contextual. So how can we be within the budget or what the client is aspiring that building to be? I think it's very important. We should never forget that we are building for somebody else?
Some of our houses that we've done, they seem to have a lot of impact for the families they live in them. There's outre, there's cleft. You see, in India, a home that people build for themselves comes at the end of a very long aspirational journey. It's not considered a real estate investment. So I think most of our private residences is where you can genuinely see an impact in the lives. We are looking at how homes are morphing now as we build larger and larger apartment complexes, residential complexes. We are understanding the dynamic between living as an individual in a larger community, and also the understanding of how those are actually instruments of real estate investment. People are looking for dividends that are financial, not just aspirational. So these are the things that we are beginning to understand now.
You have to get material that is locally available, as much as possible naturally occurring materials. It's very simple, and there are very few things that you have to follow to ensure that the building is sustainable as it can be. You have to follow climatology, you have to respect the sun, its angle, its distance, seasons, etc. And you don't have to do too much. So I think all of our buildings do follow very thorough guidelines as far as sustainability is concerned, because the approach is such, because the studio approaches projects in such a way that it is inevitable that the approach to construction follows these values.
HARDC was the first building actually we ever did, and interestingly so that we were very young at that point of time, and client put a lot of trust on us. He wanted an efficient building for his NGO. Simply, that was the only brief. As in, we were looking at it beyond just the building. And that's what we always do. We don't look at building within its footprint. We are looking at it in the context of where it belongs. But obviously the limelight was the jali or the brick facade which we created. And at that point of time, it was very, very unique because there was no parametrics then and computers were very new. And we worked with the masons, and we learned a lot with the masons. That was the first building, so we didn't even know. To the first building, instead of making simple bricks, we made the brick differently. And it was just a thought. But then with masons and stuff, we tried to work it out, and it was very hands-on.
I think our studio is very concerned about what's going to happen because of climate change over the next 20 years, which is really where we see ourselves before we sort of retire. And I think it's a very, very dynamic space, and it requires not just this idea of sustainability, but now I think architecture has to move on to resilience. We can see how our cities are flooding, how we live in many cities, and this is across the world, in places that are very, very highly polluted, where we seem to have eradicated all other forms of life forms like flora, fauna. Cities are no longer lively places. I think these are all concerns that architecture can address successfully.
You've heard this many times before, but bad design is the actually expensive design, and this is something that you have to tell the client, that if you don't get a designer, then you're actually building something that's going to cost you much more in the longer run. I think there is a huge change in the consumer in the last 10 years, where I think more and more people understand the value of good design, which is not just limited to having something that you can take a picture in front of and put on Instagram. It goes way beyond. I think people really understand now.
This cleft house is something, it's a residence. It's residence in North Delhi. Client wanted something which he had never seen before. And when we went to the site and when we saw the site, we realized that there are no views up front. If you look at the entire road, you realize that lots of buildings are there. They have default balconies because balconies are free of FAR. So people, whatever you get free, people want it. So we decided, why do we actually need it? Why do we go for default where balconies are given? So we decided not to have any balconies, not to have any windows, because it didn't require. And there was no view. And that also created a very monolithic kind of structure. And when it was getting built, people thought it was a mall or something. It's not so we don't believe in typologies. You know, we don't say that house is a typology which has to be designed like this. I think typology, how the space feels. So if the courtyard feels like a house, it's a house. If it feels like a mall, it's a mall.
People who want to study architecture and become architects are coming from smaller and smaller towns. I think it's a great thing. I would seriously advise that anyone who comes to a big city to learn architecture should try and consider going back to their town and setting up a studio. I think the value you would bring to your community would be so immense, it would replace any other joy that you may get out of winning a competition, winning an award. Just people you know coming to you and saying what an awesome building or what an awesome space you created is a joy that's incomparable.
In our Real Report this evening, we take a closer look at why religious cities across India are witnessing a real estate surge and the factors driving this growing demand.
Ayodhya, Kashi, Shirdi, Tirupati, Rameshwaram. Today, these spiritual cities have it all. Airports, rail links, expressways, schools, industry and business hubs. In just 3 years, property prices here have surged over 200%. As infrastructure grows, India's sacred centers are witnessing a powerful revival, driven by a post-pandemic shift towards calmer, purpose-driven living. That momentum is powered by landmark projects, the Ram Temple complex in Ayodhya, the Kashi Vishwanath corridor in Varanasi, and permanent event infrastructure in Prayagraj, dramatically improving access and amenities. Religious tourism is now booming, drawing pilgrims from across the world. The surge is lifting hospitality, retail and housing demand. For many, investing here is emotional, a return to faith and heritage. With leading developers launching modern homes and serviced apartments, these ancient cities are entering a new era of growth and long-term value.
After that report, I'm here in the studio with Ashwinder R. Singh to address some of the questions many of you have been asking. This is the Clarity Corner, and Ashwinder R. Singh will help us in breaking it down for you. So, I have quick questions for you. Let me ask you the first one. For someone looking to sell their property, one of the biggest challenge is pricing it right. How can a seller realistically determine the right price for their home?
Now, the right price isn't what you want. It's what the market will pay today. Benchmark against recent sales within 1-2 kilometers, not just listing. Real buyers pay for usability and not nostalgia. Another point to keep in mind is, as a seller, if you price your properties 5-7% below the perceived market rate, the property sells 3 times faster. Yes, it sells 3 times faster. In real estate, time is money and liquidity is the new luxury. Remember, liquidity will always score more than anything else in real estate.
There's been a lot of conversation around interest rates. Do you think the recent rate cut will actually translate into higher housing sales?
Well, I want to tell you that the world has changed, Indian buyer has changed, and it is all about sentiments. And rate cut is no more the sole driver. Buyers move when jobs, confidence, and supply of real estate aligns. India's housing market is now aspiration driven. It is more aspiration sensitive, not rate sensitive. The new buyer fortunately responds more to lifestyle than to loan rates. I think we give far more importance to rate cuts than we should. Earlier, this was not the case, but now the Indian home buyer and real estate investor is far more evolved.
We've seen steady momentum in the luxury housing segment. Do you expect this demand to continue over the next few years?
Yes, luxury demand is driven by wealth formalization and not speculation. People need to understand that. Buyers are mostly end users, not flippers. And that is why luxury demand is going to be good. Luxury today means privacy, wellness, and design. It's a secular demand story and not a cyclical one. People have become aspirational, they want a good quality of life, they need good amenities, they need a good standard of living. That's why the luxury demand, according to me, is going to remain consistent, sustainable, and thrive. Why just for 3 years, but maybe for the next decade?
And finally, many people see real estate as a long-term investment. Does investing in property still offer the potential for stable passive income?
The three pillars of passive income are rental yield, co-investment, and fractional ownership. In today's time and age, all are strengthened by technology, platforms, and blockchain. The smartest investors, according to me, build cash flow before capital gain, rent before resale, yield before the yield curve. Real estate is a great asset class for passive income, but it is also a great asset class for capital appreciation along with passive income. If you keep real estate as a long-term asset class investment instrument, in 10 years, you'll be surprised that it has given more returns than any other asset class ever, whether it is equity, whether it is gold, or anything else. So yes, these are the three things you can keep in mind while choosing real estate as a passive income instrument.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ashwinder R. Singh, for joining us here today on R.Estate, Building the Nation. And now it's time to look ahead. In 26 for 2026, we bring you the trends already shaping the future of real estate, quick, focused, and easy to follow.
Mumbai MMR will see over 15 luxury launches in 2026, starting at Rs 2 crore. By 2030, redevelopmental projects may cross Rs 1.30 lakh crore. The Ganga Expressway, India's second largest, is set to open before Magh Mela 2026. With construction nearly complete, it will connect Prayagraj and Meerut seamlessly. India's first bullet train will debut by 2026. Trial runs between Bilimora and Surat will hit 320 km per hour with indigenous 8-coach prototypes under testing. Over 30 premium projects launched in Gurugram and Noida in 2026, starting at Rs 2 crore. Noida, Greater Noida leads India in recent price growth. Navi Mumbai Airport opens December 25, operating day hours. Initially, a major airline will launch with 23 flights, scaling to 35. Mumbai gets its second international airport. By 2026, virtual tours and 3D walkthroughs will transform property marketing. Better material planning may cut construction waste by 30%, while AI could boost sales efficiency up to 30%. Circles rates across major cities like Delhi, NCR and Mumbai may rise nearly 20%, driven by land prices and large-scale infrastructure upgrades. The Delhi-Mumbai Expressway, India's biggest road project, is expected by May 2026, cutting travel time between the two cities to just 12 hours. Yeida will launch 973 residential plots near Noida Airport in January 2026 across multiple sectors, just ahead of the airport's expected opening. Delhi Metro's Rithala-Narela corridor and Pune Metro Line 3 will partially open in 2026, significantly boosting urban connectivity. Oyo plans a 6,500 rupees crore IPO in 2026. With over 1 lakh rooms, the company reports annual profits of around 80 crore rupees. Rental yields are expected to rise from 3 to 3.5% in 2026, with Bengaluru, Hyderabad and Mumbai seeing rent hikes up to 15%. Chennai will unveil its third master plan in January 2026. The 2027 and 2046 roadmap will guide the city's growth for the next 2 decades. ESG complaint real estate is gaining momentum. Green certified projects may rise to 30% of new launches by 2026. Noida International Airport, India's largest, will begin operations in 2026. Phase 1 includes one runway and terminal handling 12 million passengers annually after mandatory testing. India's co-working market could hit rupees 30,000 crore in 2026 as operators expand from 15 to over 25 cities beyond metros. India plans to integrate 20 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2026, building over 10,700 kilometers of transmission lines across Gujarat, Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu. Discussions on RERA 2.0 may begin in 2026, focusing on transparency while addressing developer concerns like faster approvals and realistic timelines. A 14,000 crore rupees freight corridor will link Vadhavan Port to Samruddhi Mahamarg, easing congestion and improving north-south connectivity in Maharashtra. The FNG Expressway is set to open by 2026, cutting travel time by 40 minutes and unlocking major housing, retail and office development across NCR. Affordable housing supply may rise 8% in 2026 with prices up 5%. Key hotspots include Indore, Surat, Kochi and Jaipur. India's data center capacity is projected to grow 30% in 2026 with $2 billion in fresh investment from global and domestic tech giants. Guwahati is emerging as an IT corridor with hospitality booms across the northeast. With rising tourism, multiple REITs may launch northeast-focused funds by 2026. Commercial real estate is expected to grow up to 12% in 2026, with FDI touching $7 billion across top business cities. 10 cities including Pune, Kochi, Indore, Jaipur and Ahmedabad are set to see strong real estate appreciation in 2026. Pepperfry targets a 2026 IPO after $150 million funding and plans 50 showrooms. Sadoxo expands smart cities, Siemens launches smart building services and Ultratech adds major capacity.
That's all we have on this edition of R.Estate, Building the Nation. From the week's top news to design, data and what lies ahead, we hope tonight's show helped you better understand a fast-changing real estate landscape. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more and we'll see you next time on R.Estate, Building the Nation.